Om. 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 Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanam Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Yesterday we did the verses and their meanings. Today we'll just do a synopsis of the first three chapters. So it's like taking a bird's eye view of, it's called Simha Darshanam. I think that is what is meant when you finish a certain portion, you turn back, look and see how much, what you have completed, the important aspects of what you have completed. Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupasthitam anaryajushthamasvargyam akirtikaram arjuna. So in such crisis, from where has this despair come upon you, O Arjuna? It is not at all becoming of an upright man and does not add to your good name, nor is it one which leads one to heaven. This is in response to Arjuna dropping his bow and arrow and just sitting down on the chariot saying, I cannot fight. Klaivyam masmagamav partha naitatvayupapadyate kshudram hridaya daurbalyam tyaktvottishta parantapa. O Partha, the vanquisher of enemies, do not yield to unmanliness. This does not befit you. Give up this lowly weakness of heart and get up. Arjuna Vacha Sthita Prajnasya Ka Bhasha Samadhistasya Keshava Sthitadhi Kim Prabhasheta Kimasita Vrajeta Kim. Arjuna said, O Keshava, what is the description of a person of firm wisdom? One whose mind abides in the Atma, the Self. How does such a person whose mind is not shaken by anything speak, sit, and walk? In asking Krishna to describe a Sthita Prajna, a wise person, Arjuna indicated that the description should cover how the person walks, talks, and sits. Krishna saw the spirit of Arjuna's question and defined the Sthita Prajna in these words. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Rajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha Sthita prajnastadojyate. Shri Bhagavan said, O Partha, when a person gives up all the desires as they appear in the mind and is happy in oneself with oneself alone, that person is said to be one of ascertained knowledge. Dukkeshvanudvignamanaha sukeshu vigatasprihah vitaraga sthitadhirmuniruchyate. The one who is not affected by adversities, who is without yearning for pleasures, and is free from longing, free and anger, from longing, fear, and anger, is said to be a wise person whose knowledge remains. So, the one who is not affected by adversities, one who is without yearning for pleasures, and one who is free from longing, fear, and anger is said to be a wise person whose knowledge remains. Yas sarvatranabhisneha tat prapya shubhashubham nabhinandati nadveshti tasya prajna pratishtita. For the one who is unattached in all situations, who neither rejoices on gaining the pleasant nor hates the unpleasant, his knowledge is well established. Yada samharate chayam kurmonganiva sarvashah indriyani indriyarthebhyah tasya prajna pratishtita. And when, like the turtle that withdraws its limbs, this person is able to withdraw completely the sense organs from their objects, his knowledge is steady. Dhyayato vishayan pumsah sangasteshupajayate sangat sanjayate kamah kamat krodho bhijayate क्रोधाद् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिर्भ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. If the person who dwells upon objects, and attachment is born with reference to them. From attachment is born desire, and from desire anger is born. From anger comes delusion, and from delusion comes the loss of memory. Because of the loss of memory, the mind becomes incapacitated, and when the mind is incapacitated, the person is destroyed. Then Krishna said, Arjuna, if you really want to know what a wise person is, you have to be wise yourself. There is no other way of understanding such a person. Behavior and so on are not indications of a person's wisdom. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagarti samyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato munehi. In that which is night for all beings, the one who is wise, who has mastery over oneself, is awake. That in which beings are awake is night for the wise one who sees. Apuryamānamachala pratishtam samudramāpa pravishanti yadvat tadvat kāmayam pravishanti sarve sashanti mapnoti na kāmakāmi. Just as water flows into the ocean that is brimful and still, so too the wise person into whom all objects enter gains peace, that is, remains unchanged, whereas the desirer of objects does not gain peace. So the Kamakami does not have Shanti, whereas the Sthita Prajna has. Vihaya kamanya sarvan umamsharati nisprihaha nirmamo nirahankaraha sashanti madhigacchati. Having given up all binding desires, the person who moves around, devoid of longing, without the sense of limited I and mine, gains peace. एषा ब्राह्मी स्थितिः पार्थ नैनां प्राप्य विमुह्यति स्थित्वा स्यामन्तकालेऽपि ब्रह्मनिर्वाणमृच्छति. This is what is meant by being steady in Brahman, O Partha. Having gained this, one is not deluded. Remaining therein, even at the end of one's life, one gains liberation. अर्जुन उवाच जायसी चेत् कर्मणस्ते मता बुद्धिर्जनार्दन तत्किं कर्मणि घोरे मां नियोजयसि केशव. Arjuna said, O Janardana, your contention is that knowledge is better than action. Why then do you engage me in this gruesome action, O Krishna, O Keshava? व्यामिश्रेणेव वाक्येन बुद्धिं मोहयसीव मे तदेकं वद निश्चित्य येन श्रेयोऽहमाप्नुयाम्. With words that are seemingly contradictory, you appear to be confusing my mind. Having decided which is better, tell me the one thing by which I shall gain liberation. श्रीभगवानुवाच लोकेऽस्मिन् द्विविधा निष्ठा पुरा प्रोक्ता मया नघ ज्ञानयोगेन साङ्ख्यानां कर्मयोगेन योगिनाम्. Shri Bhagavan said, O sinless one, the twofold committed lifestyle in this world was told by me in the beginning. The pursuit of knowledge for the renunciates and the pursuit of action for those who pursue activity. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma krita karyate hyavashah karma sarva prakriti jairgunaihi. Indeed, no one ever exists for even a second without performing action, because everyone, being helpless, is made to perform action by the three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas, born of prakriti. Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu vaha parasparam bhavayantaha shreyah paramavapsyatha. Propitiate the deities with this yajna. May those deities propitiate you. Propitiating one another, you shall gain the highest good, moksha. Ishtan bhogan hi vo deva dasyante yajna bhavitaha tairdattana pradayaibhyo yo bhunte stena eva saha. The gods propitiated by yajna will give you desirable objects. Therefore, one who enjoys objects given by them without offering to them in return is indeed a thief. Yajnashishtashinas santo muchyante sarva kilbishaihi bhunjate te tvagam papa epachantyatma karanat. Those who eat, having first offered the food to the Lord, are released from impurities, whereas those sinful people who cook only for themselves eat papa, sin. In this detailed way, Krishna explained how the attitude of karma yoga can release you from the hold of your likes and dislikes. When the action you perform is done as a worship or a sacrifice. Then Krishna said, Sadrisham cheshtate swasyaha prakritirjnanavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigraha kim karishyati. Even a wise person acts in keeping with his or her own nature, because all beings follow their own nature. Of what use is control? इन्द्रियस्येन्द्रियस्यार्थे रागद्वेषौ व्यवस्थितौ तयोर्नवशमागच्छेत् तौ ह्यस्य परिपन्थिनौ. There is attachment and aversion with reference to every sense object. May one not come under the spell of these two, because they are one's enemies. श्रेयान् स्वधर्मो विगुणः परधर्मात् स्वनुष्ठितात् स्वधर्मे निधनं श्रेयः परधर्मो भयावहः. Better is one's own imperfectly performed dharma than the well-performed dharma of another. Death in one's own dharma is better. The dharma of another is fraught with fear. अर्जुन उवाच अथ केन प्रयुक्तोऽयं पापं चरति पूरुषः अनिच्छन्नपि वार्ष्णेय बलादिव नियोजितः. Arjuna said, O Varshnaya, impelled by what does a person commit sin? As though pushed by some force, even though not desiring to. श्रीभगवानुवाच काम एष क्रोध एष रजोगुणसमुद्भवः महाशनो महापाप्मा विद्येनमिह वैरिणम्. Shri Bhagavan said, this desire, this anger, born of guna rajas, is a glutton and a great sinner. Know that to be the enemy here in this world. इन्द्रियाणि पराण्याहुः इन्द्रियेभ्यः परं मनः मनसस्तु परा बुद्धिः यो बुद्धेः परतस्तु सः. They say that the sense organs are superior to the body. The mind is superior to the sense organs. The intellect is superior to the mind, whereas the one who is superior to the intellect is he, the Atma. एवं बुद्धिः परं बुद्ध्वा संस्तभ्यात्मानमात्मना जहि शत्रुं महाबाहो कामरूपं दुरासदम्. O mighty armed one, Arjuna, knowing that which is superior to the intellect in this way, having made the mind steady with the buddhi, destroy the enemy that is in the form of desire, that which is so difficult to understand. So that ends the summary of the first 3 chapters. They picked up important verses. So we'll just pause here for a while and let's share our understanding before we go on to the next chapter, chapter 4. So Arjuna started off the first chapter with delusion, with him getting out of his extreme compassion and with a sense of mindness. He had a lot of mamakara. He says, I cannot fight. Sidanti mama gatrani mukham cha parishishyati. And then his Gandiva drops and he just sits down in the chariot. That's when Arjuna is told by Bhagavan, Klaivyam masmagama partha naitatvayupapadyate. This is very unbecoming of you. This is not the time that you have to behave in such a way. And then he goes on to describing the whole Atma. For some reason, Swamiji has not included those, the first maybe 30, 35 shlokas of chapter 2. He just starts off with the Sita Prajnasya Ka Bhasha. What are the characteristics of the Sthita Prajna? And then Krishna goes on to explain. Yeah, so in this crisis, this is not becoming of an upright man. And then Arjuna asks, Sthita Prajnasya Ka Bhasha? And then Krishna goes on to describe the characteristics of such a person. The one who is happy with himself by himself, and in whom all desires just dissolve. He is not shaken up by the desires that he gives up all the desires as and when they arise in him, who is happy in himself by himself, and one who is not attached, who is devoid of attachment and is devoid of fear, anger, dukkeshu anudvignamanaha, sukheshu vigataspraha, vita raga bhaya krodha. So he's devoid of desire, krodha, anger, and fear. The three primary enemies he's free of. And he is not ruffled by something pleasant happening, and he's not ruffled by something unpleasant happening. One who is stable. And then he goes on to say that in order to really understand what a Sthita Prajna is, he says you have to become a Sthita Prajna. And then Ya Nisha Sarva Bhutanam Tasyam Jagarti Samyami. Yasyam Jagrati Bhutanam Sa Nisha Pashyato Mune. So that which is night to, so it is so distinct, it's black and white. You cannot really understand what is Sthita Prajna is unless you are one. Because what is day to him is night to the non-Sthita Prajna, to the Ajnani. And the night to him is day to the other. So basically, the Sthita Prajna is awakened to the knowledge of the self, whereas the Ajnani is still reeling he's still covered by that veil of ignorance. So what is day to the Ajnani is night to the Sthita Prajna, and vice versa. And then the psychology of how the desire deludes you. So first it starts as a thought. The thought creates an attachment. From the attachment arises desire. And from that desire comes, if that desire is not satisfied, anger rises. And with anger comes delusion. And from delusion comes loss of memory. Smriti Bhramsha. And Smriti Bhramshat Buddhinashaha. The mind becomes incapacitated. And Buddhinashat Pranashyati. The person is destroyed. And then, of course, the third chapter where Krishna is asked by Arjuna, seemingly you've created this doubt in me, confusion. Please tell me which is good for me, knowledge or karma. And then Krishna tells him there are two lifestyles that I have set forth. One is sannyasa and the other is karma yoga. And then he puts forth how there is interdependence and how what is the attitude of a karma yogi. So the attitude is that of realizing that we are interdependent. You perform every action with the yajna bhava as an offering to the divine. And free from attachment. Nirmamo nirahankara. And how does desire, how the every object comes with the dual raga and dvesha attached to it. So do not come under their spell. How? By having a say on your mind. And he gives the beautiful hierarchy of how the senses are more superior than the body, the mind more superior than the senses, buddhi is superior to the mind, and that which is above the buddhi is the atma, which is superior to the buddhi. So he says, with this buddhi, have a say on your desires, on your senses, and then what understanding the atma, you get over this knot of kama and krodha. And when Arjuna asks, what is that that impels a person to do improper things? Krishna says, kama yesha, krodha yesha, rajoguna samudbhava, and mahashano mahapapma vidyena miha vairina. So it is only born of the guna rajas. You have kama and krodha. So by understanding, you can have a say over them rather than you cannot control them because when they're born of prakriti. So just by controlling, you don't achieve any superiority over them because you're just suppressing them. You have to understand, and by understanding, you have a say, master them. Yeah, can everybody also share? And then we'll go on to chapter 4.
Jai Gurudev. So is it this way that if a person has shifted or has his mind is like he's now realizing the self, or he's into self realization, once that happens, then these all the lakshanas, sthita pragya lakshanas, they will start coming slowly, uh, or is it the other way around? Like, what I feel is, until unless we have the self realization, the person uh, will not value any. He'll not value the system, the what the virtues he should have, so that he lives as a karma yogi. Once the realization is there, only then his mind will shift to those virtues or values, we can say.
To completely understand a Sthita Prajna, you have to be a Sthita Prajna. Otherwise, it is only like you're scratching the surface. You're only getting a concept. So only a wise person can understand a wise person.
Yeah, so it is that self realization, or you can say the study of the Atma, which like only when we realize our true self, that Atma, we are seeking that Atma, that that knowledge will help you to uh, be a sthita prajna.
Yeah,
No?
yeah. So the Jnani's Lakshanas, why we need to learn about the Jnani's Lakshanas is because they become our sadhana tools. So there
Yes.
is, like it is said, no, in the third chapter, यद्यदाचरति श्रेष्ठः तत्तदेवेतरो जनः सयत् प्रमाणं कुरुते लोकस्तदनुवर्तते. So whoever the people tend to follow a person of great character virtue. That is why Krishna says, whatever they, I mean, that's the natural tendency of people. They tend to follow someone. So these jnanis are those, and therefore it depends on who your role model is. So for us, if our role model is the Sthita Prajna, which is what the whole description of the Sthita Prajna is about, then you start following them. So initially you start following by pursuing this knowledge. That is what the whole Karma Yoga is. Karma Yoga is you're evolving into a jnani, because you have ragadveshas to neutralize. You have to go through action. You cannot renounce action, just take on orange ochre robes and then sit and say, I want to follow jnana. That would not happen. That will be a futile exercise. You will first have to neutralize your ragadveshas, and then while doing that, you pursue knowledge so that you also achieve that. Not even achieve, even that achieving is not right, but then you realize your true nature. Then all questions drop. Then even this question that Arjuna had, Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha, that will not be there. So you are the Sthita Prajna. You are the one. You are complete. You're full. No doubts will remain then.
Yeah, very right.
That is why Gurudev says so many times, a person who's enlightened will not say he's enlightened. And a person who's not enlightened, So no, he says a person who's enlightened will not say he is. And if he says he's enlightened, he is not enlightened.
Yeah.
So many people proclaim, right? They say, oh, I'm enlightened, I got enlightenment so and so time. That's all humbug. So we'll go through this synopsis of first three chapters. Oh, here, before we start chapter 4, I will share chapter 4 PDF with everyone. I'll email it to you. There is the synopsis of first three chapters.
I think after that the fourth chapter is coming, right?
Correct, correct.
Oh.
So it's nicely given. I don't know whether chapter 3 also has this beautiful index. Nature
No,
of
after you scroll up after 3 chapters, the synopsis, then the fourth chapter comes. Dr.
No, I
Uh,
know that, but then this one,
yeah,
no,
the
all this index is for the fourth chapter. See this
Oh, yeah,
wisdom,
I saw
tactics,
that one.
paternity, origins, the teacher to student. Okay, we'll go through this. 1 second. Just reading this index itself is very beautiful, but we'll go through this. Where is this one?
Jai Gurudev Brahmaraj ji, could you please send the PDF for first 3 chapters, the synopsis also?
No problem. We'll do that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, why is this coming like
It's
this?
in the email today, right?
No, what that is all the
The
that is there
synopsis.
the verses that I sent.
Yeah.
Why is this so 200 chapter 6? Oh, this is actually chapter wise. This has come up like this.
Right,
Okay.
right. The chapter wise index,
I
and
don't
then
know.
after that, you get the fourth chapter.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
have to
there's
keep
so much.
going.
Okay, let me
Yeah,
do
go
this.
up, go
Okay.
up all the way.
I'll just go to 25. Yeah. Okay. So we come to chapter 4. So this is actually the synopsis still, huh? So let me just, I think I have to go further down. This is the synopsis of the first 3 chapters.
After synopsis, the fourth chapter comes.
Correct.
After 3 chapters, yeah.
Right. So should we do the synopsis again?
Yes.
Synopsis, I think
Yes.
Swamiji has given some.
You just did that, right? And,
I just did that. No, but then Swamiji has given little bit of explanation also.
On the same thing?
On the same thing. See, this is synopsis of first 3 chapters. Oh, this is good because this index itself is very beautiful. Maybe we can do that after the end of every chapter. It nicely gives the subheadings for us to get a bird's eye view. A synopsis of the first 3 chapters. In the first chapter of the Gita, the teacher Krishna and the disciple Arjuna were introduced, and the context that led to Arjuna asking Krishna for self-knowledge was given. Previously, Arjuna had only been interested in regaining the kingdom and settling old accounts with Duryodhana. Arjuna had no desire for this knowledge, and even though he had known Krishna for a long time, he did not regard him as a teacher. Arjuna had lived a life of dharma, and a life of dharma necessarily leads one to ask fundamental questions about life. It had given him the necessary viveka to ask Krishna, "O Bhagavan, please teach me what is the ultimate good. I am your disciple." That is why, see, a person who lives a life of dharma ultimately will get on to the path of moksha because he will ask fundamental questions. That is why in chapter 3 it is said, one of the verses says, "Do not unruffle the minds of an ignorant person." You just have to goad him, persuade him to follow the path of dharma. That's enough. You do not need to push him onto the path of moksha. That he will do eventually. Many of us have this. Our families may not have the same mindset that we want them to have. But all we need to guide them is to get on to the path of dharma. The same thing with Arjuna. He had lived a life of dharma all along. He was there with Krishna all the while, but he never considered him a teacher. But eventually, he asked fundamental questions. The first chapter described the battlefield, Arjuna's despair, and his arguments concerning why he no longer wanted to fight. Early in the second chapter, Krishna tried to arouse Arjuna's enthusiasm so that he would do what had to be done. He addressed him as follows: "Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupasthitam anaryajushthamasvargyam akirtikaram Arjuna." In such crisis, from where has this despair come upon you, O Arjuna? It is not at all becoming of an upright man and does not add to your good name, nor is it one which leads one to heaven. Klaivyam masmagamah partha naitatvayupapadyate kshudram hridaya daurbalyam tyaktvothishta parantapa. O Partha, the vanquisher of enemies, do not yield to unmanliness. This does not befit you. Give up this lowly weakness of heart and get up. Arjuna continued to explain why he could not fight, saying he would prefer to live the life of a bhikshu, one who lives on alms. This meant that he was thinking of a life of sannyasa, that he wanted to renounce everything and seek moksha. He knew that a particular knowledge was necessary for moksha and that a guru was necessary for gaining this knowledge. Thinking that there was no better guru than Krishna, Arjuna asked him for the knowledge, declaring himself to be Krishna's disciple. In response to Arjuna's request, Krishna did not simply say, "Stop talking and fight." Had he done so, and had Arjuna followed Krishna's advice, the Mahabharata would have no Gita. Instead, it looks as though Krishna was waiting for such an occasion as this to teach Arjuna. Otherwise, he would not have started with Ashocyan Anvashochastvam Prajnavadamscha Bhashase. You grieve for those who should not be grieved for, even though you speak words of wisdom. Nor would he have followed the statement up with Nasato vidyate bhavaha na bhavo vidyate sataha. The unreal never is, and the real is never absent. In fact, Krishna covered the entire teaching in the second chapter, talking about knowledge and about karma yoga. How one has to live one's life in a manner which helps one gain a certain freedom from the hold of likes and dislikes. Then, towards the end of the chapter, Arjuna asked Krishna to describe a person who is established in this knowledge. Arjuna uvacha sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthitadhi kim prabhasheta kimasita vrajeta kim. Arjuna said, "O Keshava, what is the description of a person of firm wisdom? one whose mind abides in the Atma, the self. How does such a person, whose mind is not shaken by anything, speak, sit, and walk? In asking Krishna to describe a Sthita Prajna, a wise person, Arjuna indicated that the description should cover how the person walks, talks, and sits. Krishna saw the spirit of Arjuna's question and defined the Sthita Prajna in these words. So Krishna did not go on and describe to Arjuna how he walks and sits and talks and eats. He understood the spirit of Arjuna's question. So, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Rajahati Yada Kaman Sarvan Partha Manogatan Atmanyevatmana Tushtaha Sthita Prajnastadochyate. So he described the attitude that a Sthita Prajna has. Shri Bhagavan said, O Partha, when a person gives up all desires as they appear in the mind and is happy in oneself with oneself alone, that person is said to be one of ascertained knowledge. Dukkheshvanudvignamanaha Sukheshu Vigatasprihaha Vitaragabhayakrodhaha Sthitadhir Muniruchyate. The one who is not affected by adversities, one who is without yearning for pleasures and is free from longing, fear, and anger, is said to be a wise person whose knowledge remains. Yes sarvatranabhisnehaha tattat prapya shubhashubham nabhinandati nadveshti tasya prajna pratishtita. For the one who is unattached in all situations, who neither rejoices on gaining the pleasant nor hates the unpleasant, his knowledge is well established. It's good to repeat because these verses, when we get them by heart, actually come up to our awareness when they are required. Yada samharate chayam kurmongani va sarvashaha indriyani indriyarthebhyah tasya prajna pratishtita. And when, like the turtle that withdraws its limbs, this person is able to withdraw completely the sense organs from their objects, his knowledge is steady. So you see, this is where in Karma Yoga he talks of Atmavashya, Atmana, using your mind and buddhi, have a say on your senses. So the Sthita Prajna is one who already has this mastery over the senses. We see here that Krishna, appreciating the spirit of Arjuna's question, converted it into how does a wise person interact with the world? A Sthita Prajna, Krishna said, is one whose knowledge is steady, meaning one whose knowledge leaves nothing to be desired. Such a person is happy with himself or herself and does not require anything other than himself or herself in order to be happy. The person is also not afraid of anything. When unpleasant situations occur, he or she faces them without being adversely affected in any way. Nor is such a person elated when pleasant situations occur. The spontaneous expressions of the wisdom of a wise person become sadhanas, values or disciplines for the seeker, which is why Arjuna was interested in the qualities of a wise person. Krishna described all these qualities to Arjuna. He also told Arjuna of certain obstacles to gaining this wisdom, such as how by dwelling upon certain objects, Vishaya Dhyana, we give them subjective attributes in addition to those attributes that the objects already have. So rather than do Vishaya Dhyana, we have to do Tattva Dhyana. We have to do Atma Dhyana. So rather than becoming Indriya Rama, we have to become Atma Rama. So rather than getting attached to the world and samsara, we have to attach ourselves to the divine. Detach and attach. Detach from the world and attach to the divine. That's how we can get rid of these obstacles. Very alluring these senses are, right? They're very attractive. They're very promising of pleasure, of happiness. Unfortunately, that's only fleeting. And that is occupying all our mind space. And then it leads to such a waste of time. One's whole life is involved in indulging in the senses. And then we end up becoming a kripana, a miser. A miser, one who does not make use of the viveka that one is supposed to have. So this Vishaya Dhyana is one that is such a big obstacle. For example, as long as you look upon money as simply buying power, there is no problem. However, when you look upon it as a source of security, you are creating a problem for yourself because your conclusion is not totally true. Money itself cannot make you secure. Anything that you hold on to that is other than yourself only confirms your insecurity. Anything that you hold on to that is other than yourself only confirms your insecurity. As long as one wants crutches, one does not stand on one's own legs. A truly secure person requires nothing outside of oneself to make him or her feel secure. So all these crutches, money, name, fame, pleasure, all this are crutches. So as long as you hold on to these crutches, you cannot be secure. You are reeling in insecurity. A truly secure person requires nothing outside of oneself to make him or her feel secure. Giving objects the attributes that they do not have, seeing certain qualities in them that are not there, and then dwelling upon them creates attachment, sangha, towards them. Within the flow of what he was teaching, Krishna pointed out all this and what comes of this sangha. See, giving objects the attributes that they don't have. Money is supposed to just give you buying power. But what is it that we are doing? We are implying that money also has security. Money gives us security. Money gives us happiness. So these are not the qualities that money has. Money only gives you buying power. That's it, very simple. So rather than just see that, we attach more and more qualities to money. And then we feel that the money is what gives us security. And same with anything else. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. Kamat krodho bijayate. Krodat bhavati sammohaha. Sammohat smriti vibhramaha. Smriti bhramshat buddhinashaha. Buddhinashat pranashyati. So, in the person who dwells upon objects, and attachment is born with reference to them. From attachment is born desire, and from desire, anger is born. From anger comes delusion, and from delusion comes the loss of memory. Because of the loss of memory, the mind becomes incapacitated, and when the mind is incapacitated, the person is destroyed. Then Krishna said, Arjuna, if you really want to know what a wise person is, you have to be wise yourself. There is no other way of understanding such a person. Behavior and so on are not indications of a person's wisdom. So you cannot become wise by just following the person's behavior, in the sense, just by aping him, you cannot become. You have to understand. It's a matter of understanding. Ya nisha sarvabhutanam tasyam jagati samyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato munehi. In that which is night for all beings, the one who is wise, who has mastery over oneself, is awake. So he is awake to Atma Jnana, that in which beings are awake. Beings are awake to what? They are awake to samsara, is night for the wise person who sees. So samsara is as though non-existent for him. He's not caught up in the duality. He is triguna, he is nistrai gunya. He goes beyond the three gunas, beyond the dvandvas. The difference between those who are wise and those who are not wise is like night and day. What the wise person, what wise people are awake to, the ignorant people are not awake to. Moreover, what the ignorant are awake to, the wise are not awake to. Meaning that what the ignorant think of as reality, the wise do not see as real at all. Night and day here are taken as ignorance and knowledge. In fact, there is no other difference save that between knowledge and ignorance. A wise person understands that everything is I, the Atma, whereas other people think everything is getting me. Thus, one type of person thinks that the world is out to get him or her, and the other type says that the world is himself or herself. So beautiful. So one type of people, that is the Ajnanis, think everything is getting me. Thus one type of person thinks that the world is out to get him or her. And the other type says that the world is himself or herself. Therefore, having described the Sthita Prajna as best as he could, Krishna had to say to Arjuna, how are you going to understand the wise Arjuna unless you are wise? Any kind of description is meaningless. To really know what a wise person is, you have to gain wisdom. So that is the bottom line. You have to gain wisdom. That is the end point. The ultimate step is to gain wisdom. So to explain further, Krishna used a more positive example. We'll stop here. So this is page 20. Yeah. We'll continue this tomorrow. Anyone wants to share anything before we close? Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.